Thank you, Sven. Chapter 3. Arrival. As a web designer, I can work pretty much anywhere on Earth where an electric socket and an internet connection can be found. The environment in our company is rather friendly and even relaxed as long as it doesn't affect productivity, so, a couple of mornings later, I easily negotiated 2 weeks out of the office and headed straight to Chelsea, where the Mayfair's headquarters were. A living doll offered me a cup of awful instant coffee and a marvelous redwood ashtray, and warned me that my decision to go to Japan without a partner didn't mean they would double my pocket money. Then, after a short telephone conversation, she announced that my cash allowance would be 7.5 grand. What a shame, I thought, only £500 per day, on top of the all-inclusive package. Congratulations, Mr. Nick. She stood up and came around her desk to present me with the tickets, the bank check, and a heavy folder filled with brochures and booklets. I hope you will enjoy your trip. I got up to my feet, too, only to discover that she, in flats, towered over me by almost a full head. Of course, at 5'7" or so, I'm not a giant, but not a dwarf either, so I made a point to myself to pencil down the address of the office for possible adventures in the future. At Narita International Airport in Tokyo, I was met by a taxi driver in a neat uniform and, in an hour or so, found myself in a 3-room suite on the 31st floor of a lavish hotel. Once again, I thought it would be nice to become a millionaire for once, but soon I got rid of those silly thoughts and took a bath instead, then played a tune on a piano, yes, there was a grand piano in the room, and headed downstairs to have a walk and look around. The Mayfair models would be arriving the next day, so I had plenty of time to spare. Following the receptionist's advice, I moved to the Roppongi area, which allegedly was in Tokyo exactly the same as Soho was in London. It didn't disappoint, flashing neon signs everywhere, louder than loud street vendors, amusement centers, gambling machines, and loads of hookers of every race and appearance imaginable. Smashing, baby! In a bar called Mist of Albion, I discovered that 7,500 sterling might not be such a huge sum after all. A simple gin and tonic immediately lightened my wallet by nearly £7. But it was too early to start being bothered, so I grabbed a stool at the bar and decided to enjoy myself. My solitude didn't last long. A Japanese girl with a flamboyant orange hairstyle came directly to me and asked whether I spoke English and where I was from. Oh, Rondon, she got excited the very moment she heard that. Maybe you can help me in studying English? I told her that English wasn't my first language, but she was decisive. You speak better than I. My name is Mika. She wasn't ugly. Wasn't ugly at all. In fact, she was rather pretty, in spite of the exotic hairstyle. Yet, recalling the price list at that bar, I asked her whether she'd like to continue our conversation at my hotel instead of Roppongi. I said I kept literature there. That was true. I normally try to improve my English whenever I have a chance, but not the whole truth. I simply knew that all expenses in the hotel were covered by my package. Stingy, I know. But this girl, no matter how pretty, was not the one I'd agree to spend a shed-load of money. Mika made a call from her mobile and then, after a short exchange with someone in Japanese, claimed, "I'm ready." When we stood up, I thought that I must have done something really good recently, and my karma decided to reward me. I looked directly at her neck. Given that she had sneakers on, Mika must be one of the tallest females in her country, I thought. Just another good reason to become her English tutor for the night. It was fun walking down the street with her. Obviously, I was not alone surprised by the sight of a Japanese girl who's so much taller than an average-sized European guy. People gawked at us, pointed their fingers, and talked to each other excitedly. I myself hadn't had time to get used to my hotel suite yet, but Mika's reaction was absolutely unpredictable. She just couldn't stop running through the rooms, yelling that she could fit her flat in this suite 5 times over, and that I must be as rich as King of England. Suddenly, she stopped. "You saw how they rook on me in street?" she asked. "I want study English and come to America. Hard be very tall here." You're not very tall, I assured her. Very, she protested and came closer to me. Rook, I'm taller than you. I started to enjoy the dialogue. She glanced down at me and noticed that. You like me tall? I do. Good. Nobody in my college don't like me. Very tall for other students. Very tall for teachers. Tallest boy in my class go here, she pointed at her shoulder. But if you like, I will wear platform. I have platform very tall, this, she rose up on her tiptoes and put her chin on the top of my head. Good? I was lost. Standing in front of an Oriental girl who is a head taller than you is something unexpected. And, of course, unforgettable. Could I say no? That night was also unforgettable. It demonstrated vividly that we, a.k.a. and I, had learnt the rules of sex from different sources. Very different, in fact. It was strange, sometimes nothing short of weird. The only thing I remember for sure is she left at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know where. Neither did I care. The next afternoon, after a short walk and one of the best lunches I have ever had, I made myself comfortable in the lobby. The models should be arriving any minute now. So, I grabbed a gin and tonic from the bar and dove into one of those huge and very cozy leather armchairs. Before long, I noticed some activity outside, behind the clean glass wall. Of course, it was them. The doors slid sideways with a quiet hiss, and a group of 25 or 30 Japanese people of both sexes burst straight in. The girls towered over them right in the middle of the crowd. They were stunning, and even the shortest of them was a full head taller than the men and women around them. The hotel employees couldn't miss the happening either, the guards, the porters, the lift boy. Everyone rushed to see what was happening in the lobby. Shopkeepers left their kiosks unattended, and even the hotel manager got out of his cubicle, a level of carelessness which can rarely, if ever, be seen in a 5-star hotel. The Japanese don't normally hesitate to make their feelings manifestly visible. This I experienced to the full with Mika the night before, so all those people nearly fought each other for the privilege of standing as close to the models as they possibly could, and openly comparing heights with them. Within 10 minutes, however, the lobby was clear of the unwanted visitors. The staff returned to their duties, only the manager and the bold executive director named whoever were surrounded now by the girls. The manager was enjoying every moment of checking in the gang of young, beautiful women head and shoulders taller than him. All in all, the arrival had been fun. The only omission, not a tiny one, alas, was the glaring absence of Ms. Sorensen. She must still be sick, I thought, and started feeling sick myself. No one, to be honest, had promised me she would be able to make it to Tokyo, but it didn't help much. I got another gin and tonic and sat back, disappointed. My rather unhappy thoughts were interrupted by a voice belonging to whoever from Mayfair. Oh, Mr. Nick, it's a great pleasure to see you're well. Have you been enjoying your holiday thus far? I hope so, I definitely do. While still shaking my hand, he turned to the models. Hello there, please meet Mr. Nick. He's our dear guest here, be kind to him. 3 male models, tall guys with tons of styling gel on their heads, waved their hands towards us and, with fake smiles and expressions of tiredness, moved to the lifts. The girls appeared more communicative, or more polite. They did come up. And I forgot about my grief at once. I had seen them quite recently, but back then they were on the podium, and now right next to me. Tall. Very tall. All 5 of them. Right, girls, I'm happy to introduce you to Mr. Nick, and whoever named everyone. The only name I instantly remembered though was Lisa, because Bretta Sorensen had mentioned her during that TV appearance. Besides, the baby-faced Russian, with light red hair and laughing green eyes, was the tallest of the group. The director's top of the head came up to below her armpits. I'm sure we'll do our best to make your trip truly unforgettable, Mr. Nick, whoever looked up. Will we, ladies? Yes, sir, Lisa smiled down at me, exposing the perfect pearls of teeth. Consider this a promise. Not bad at all, I thought half an hour later, still sitting at the hotel bar and consuming my next cocktail. But not as good as it could have been. Lost in my thoughts, I finally decided to call Mika. Where the hell did she disappear last night, after all? She was quick, evidently, she really needed her free English lessons. The moment she came in, all heads in the bar turned to her. Mika's made it, she was on the highest platform shoes I'd ever seen in my life, I'd say 10 or 11 inches. She could hardly walk, but looked immensely proud. I was still sitting when she came up to me. "See? You want me be tall? Stand up." I duly obeyed, only to find myself staring directly at her small breasts. I took a glance directly upwards, and saw her happy face. To Mika, it was like a Christmas party, to me, however. A tough test. Unable to restrain my excitement in that position, and feeling a little uneasy being the center of attention in her towering presence, I rushed to get us drinks. Isn't it a paradox, I thought on my way, for years you dream of something almost impossible to happen, and when this almost impossible becomes reality, you run away from it. Weird, who? The gal's way too tall for YA, don't YA think? I turned around. A big guy smiled at me, extending his thick arm with a meaty hand. I'm Todd from Idaho, the US. I've been living here for 3 years now, and never saw a local gal this tall. So when you're getting tired of her, just ask the bartender, he knows where to find me. I melt down when I see a tall chick. Bad luck, mate, I like them too. I didn't have time to finish the phrase, interrupted by a fairy-like female voice coming from behind. In that case, how about buying me a martini with orange? I turned around. At the first instant, I sensed a feeling close to fear. All I saw was something blurry and white. A sudden blindness? 1 second later, however, I realized it was a white top on Lisa's body. And what a body it was! Toned, unbearably feminine, I had an immediate turn on whilst just observing that small white top covering the very well-formed pair of breasts and exposing a flat and quite muscular abdomen. Her black skirt was short enough to show the mile-long, tanned legs with sharp knees. Just under those sexy knees started long white socks, and they went all the way down to shiny black loafers ending with 2-inch high heels. And a cherry on the cake of the portrait, her red hair was split in 2 ponytails with white fillets, making Lisa look like an innocent schoolgirl, if only schoolgirls came as tall as 6'4". I automatically nodded to the bartender. That's what I call universal injustice. Todd from Idaho made a long sip of bourbon. My order appeared on the bar top. Oh, we're not alone here, Lisa noticed. There were 3 glasses. Who else? I found myself in quite a situation. On the one hand, Mika, the tallest Japanese girl I could ever imagine, was still waiting at the table. On the other, Lisa, one of the prettiest creatures I've ever laid eyes on, was standing by my side, smiling down at me from her more than imposing height. I just couldn't make a choice. So decided to wait and see. A local girl I met yesterday, I mumbled. You don't waste your time here, Mr. Nick, do you? Lisa gently stroked my shoulder. Will you be so kind to introduce us? Next is Chapter 4, Lisa, Mika, and Others.